Welcome to the Dovetail Games Fishing Academy. It's a beautiful day here at the water's edge of the observatory lake. There's a slight breeze blowing across the water, and the conditions are perfect to learn the key skills you'll need to successfully catch fish no matter where you're fishing. In this first lesson, I'm going to take you through the basics of Dovetail Games fishing. Later, we'll talk about targeting the right location, using different rigs and baits, and the tactics you can employ to set yourself up for a perfect session. Before the lesson starts, have a walk around and get used to the controls. Well, it looks like you got the hang of it, which is good. Otherwise it would have been a long day. We've got a number of pegs on this lake for you to set up your gear. You should be able to spot a peg by looking for a sign like this. For now, let's claim this peg and get your gear ready for fishing. When you claim a peg, it's yours. No one else can fish from the same peg as long as your gear is in it. Bear in mind though, if you walk too far away and leave your peg unattended, we'll remove your equipment and allow someone else to claim it. Okay, it's time to talk about your fishing tackle. Your rig and bait are just two of the tools in your arsenal to catch fish. Choosing the right rig and bait combination is essential to catching carp. When you're holding a rod, you can change your rig and bait by simply opening your inventory and choosing new ones. We'll explain how different setups work in another lesson. For now, just change your rig and bait to whatever you like the sound of. Close your inventory when you're happy with the tackle options you've chosen. Right, you've claimed your peg and you've got your end tackle set up. Next, I'm going to talk you through how you cast in Dovetail Games fishing. Start off by walking up to the front of the peg. When you're near the edge of the water, you should be able to open the bail arm, hold the line, and get into a casting position. With the line held, you want to pull the rod back until the lead is behind you. But remember, keep the line held or the bait will drop. Now with the lead behind you and your arms straight, push the rod forward. This is the action you'll need to master when performing a long-range cast, so have a practice swing to get used to the motion. Okay, now you've had a bit of practice, let's try a proper cast. Again, pull the rod back until the lead is behind you. Now this time, when you push the rod forward, you want to release the line at the right time to get a decent cast. Have a go and see if you can cast over 15 meters. If you don't hit 15 meters on your first go, reel in and try again. You can gauge the bed type by feeling the vibration through the rod when the bait hits the lake bed. Knowing what you're fishing over is essential. You'll want to use rigs and baits that are better suited to the particular bed type. Unfortunately, the fish aren't biting at the moment. So let's reel it in and call it a day. Top stuff, we're all done for today. In this lesson, we've shown you how to claim a peg, perform an overarm cast, and how to reel in your line. And since you've been such a good student, I'm going to give you some tackle points. You can use these to unlock new gear in the tackle shop, which you'll find on the main menu. On top of that, you've also managed to bag yourself some experience points. Experience points, otherwise known as XP, represent how much experience you have as an angler. The more you gain, the more challenges will be available to you. And that's the absolute basics of Dovetail Games fishing. Good job today. I look forward to seeing you on the bank sometime.
우리의 튜토리얼의 이지어 원이었어요. 튜토리얼은
Welcome back for another lesson. I know you want to get on with things and catch big fish, but everyone has to start somewhere. And trust me, when you're on the bank with a fish on, you'll thank me for this. Grab your rod and let's get started. Just like before, head for a peg and unload your gear. Now let's talk watercraft. Take a minute and have a look at where you're fishing from. You can see there's a decent margin on the opposite side of the lake, with some overhanging trees and some reeds. An ideal place for a carp to hang out. Almost anyone can cast a rod out and wait for the occasional fish, but it requires skill and technique to catch big fish consistently. That's where watercraft comes into play. One element of watercraft is looking for the visual cues. Keep an eye out for splashing, shows, and small feeding bubbles. These all indicate that there are fish in the area, and this is where you need to be targeting. Now, it looks like there's a lot of weed over there. That'll make things harder. Weed is a fish's dream and an angler's nightmare. If you're using a bottom bait and you cast into weed, your bait will be hidden and the fish won't find it easily. It can also tangle your line and help the fish escape your hook. So, when fishing over a weed bed, try using something that sits above it. A chod rig would do the job. Don't worry if you don't have one, you can just use mine for now. But I want it back at the end of the lesson. When you're ready, cast out to the weeds on the far bank. Don't worry if you don't hit them first time, just reel in and try again. Although try not to do that too often or you might spook the fish. Result! I'm gonna get a bit technical with you now, so pay attention. Your line is attached to a reel on your rod, and all reels are fitted with an adjustable drag system. The drag system is what sets how much resistance there is for the fish to pull line out from the reel. So if you set it to its lowest setting, the fish will pull the line out easily and swim further away. But if you set the drag system to its maximum, the fish won't be able to pull line from the reel at all. It's locked up and the fish is going nowhere. Let's put that into practice. Try increasing the drag on the reel to 90%. Okay, if you had a fish on, it would find it difficult to pull line out from your reel. Bear in mind though, when you have your drag set this high, you're adding more tension to the line, and that could lead to losing the fish. To monitor your tension, take a look at your drag system. When you have a fish on, you'll be able to see how much tension there is on the line by checking the tension gauge. Blue shows you when the tension is low, and red shows you when the tension is high. The two indicators at each end are there to show you when you're in real danger of losing the fish. You don't want to be in here, so adjust your tensions accordingly to get out of the danger zone. With that in mind, let's lower your drag to something a little easier on the fish, something like 30%. When the drag is set this low, the fish will be allowed to take the line with a little bit of resistance, but it shouldn't be enough to lose the fish. The trade-off with setting the drag too low is that the fish can easily take the line and head for things that could snag it. You really want to keep the fish away from reeds on the bank and weed beds. If the fish makes... Now, if you're lucky enough to have a fish on and you're reeling it in, my advice is to keep an eye on the fish's movements and what's around it. Constantly check the tension to make sure you have enough to reel in the fish, but not too much that it escapes. Think you're ready to take on a fish? You've got a bite! Time to see if you've been paying attention. Start off by reeling in to tighten the line and help set the hook. But keep an eye on the tension. If you lose this fish, you'll owe me a new chod rig. Now stop reeling for a second. You don't want to add too much tension to the line. You can pull the fish in by literally pulling the rod back and then reeling in the slack line. Try it. Pull the rod back over your head. See the tension on the rod? Now move the rod forward and reel in the slack line. Careful now. When there's too little tension on the line, there's a chance of the fish escaping by throwing the hook. But when there's too much tension, well, you can pretty much guess what's going to happen. New chod rig for me. Let's get this fish close to the bank so we can net it. You can move the rod to the side if you want to pull the fish in a certain direction. That's your tactic for pulling fish away from weed beds and guiding the fish. Quality stuff. You're almost ready to net this fish. Just reel it in a little closer. Don't forget to pull the rod back and reel in the slack line to bring the fish in properly. Here we go, make or break time. It's time to net the fish. Start off by picking up the net. Now keep your rod steady and guide the net toward... Check it out! You've caught yourself a beautiful common carp. And that's it. In this lesson we've covered how to reel in a fish, how to manage your tension, and you've even bagged yourself a quality common carp. Nice one. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the bank sometime. Right, here we are again. Now this time I'm going to teach you a pretty advanced technique for catching fish. Don't worry about setting your gear up on a peg, because this time we're going stalking. Stalking is a term anglers use when they're hunting for fish close to the bank. Now, why would you do this? Well, getting a bite in the middle of the lake and playing the fish is exciting stuff. But imagine seeing the fish on the margin, eating your bait right in front of you before it belts off and you're in action. That's the very essence of stalking. It's close quarters combat fishing. Now, let's get stuck in and see if we can get a bite. One of the best things about stalking for fish is that you aren't restricted to your peg. You're free to walk around the lake, look for fish and cast out to the optimum location. Give it a go. Walk up to the edge of the lake and cast out. Before you cast, take a step back and think for a second. If you're fishing in the margins and you're trying to get a fish in at close range, you're not going to bang out a massive overhead cast now, are you? Casting overhead to short distances is not the way to go. Instead, you want to change your casting stance to an underarm cast. It's a short-range cast and is ideal for fishing in the margins. Performing an underarm cast is the same as an overhead cast. Just hold the line, pull the rod back, and when you're ready, push the rod forward and release the line. It looks simple enough, but it's actually pretty tricky. Have a couple of practices to get used to underarm casting. And just in case you were wondering, you can still change your stance when you're preparing to cast. For this lesson, let's keep using the underarm cast. Oh, hold on. I've spotted some fish over there. Quick, reel in and shift it over there before they spook. Remember, when you're fishing in the margins, you want to keep an eye on the water and see if you can spot the fish in the lake. When you see a fish, you know instantly that you want to be casting your line in that area. Look, right there. Can you see them? I'm guessing there's a few doubles over there. Quick, cast your line out and hopefully one of them will take it. Oh, is that a bite? Ah, nice one! Now it's just like before. Keep an eye on your line tension and reel your target in. Check that one out. And it looks like you picked yourself up some more experience and tackle points. We're not ending it here though. Let's put this one back and see if you can catch another. You're on your own this time. I've taught you everything I can about stalking fish, so let's see if you can use those skills and catch one for yourself. Landed! And that's a lovely looking fish too. Shame it isn't a massive one, but catching these lovely looking carp is still great fun.
同じ魚しかいないぐらいですね。じゃあ早速フリーモードで釣ってみたいと思います。 じ場所ですよね。なんかできない。はい。なかなか釣れないですね。餌を変えてみますか。 ショートキャストしてみましたけど、容量はわからないですね。ちょっと場所変えてみます。全然かからないですね。 あれお、かかった。もうかかりましたね。というわけで、ユーロフィッシング初の超過です。ありがとうございました。